McKinley and the business community began to see that their object, to get Spain out of Cuba, could not be accomplished without war, and that their accompanying object, the securing of American military and economic influence in Cuba, could not be left to the Cuban rebels, but could be ensured only by U.S. intervention. The New York Commercial Advertiser, at first against war, by March 10th, asked intervention in Cuba for humanity and love of freedom, and above all, the desire that the commerce and industry of every part of the world shall have full freedom of development in the whole world's interest. Before this, Congress had passed the Teller Amendment, pledging the United States not to annex Cuba. It was initiated and supported by those people who were interested in Cuban independence and opposed to American imperialism, and also by business people who saw the open door as sufficient and military intervention unnecessary. But by the spring of 1898, the business community had developed a hunger for action. The Journal of Commerce said the Teller Amendment must be interpreted in a sense somewhat different from that which its author intended it to bear. There were special interests in who would benefit directly from war. In Pittsburgh, center of the iron industry, the Chamber of Commerce advocated force. The Chattanooga tradesmen said that the possibility of war has decidedly stimulated the iron trade. Russell Sage, the banker, said that if war came, there is no question as to where the rich men stand. A survey of businessmen said that John Jacob Astor, William Rockefeller, and Thomas Fortune Ryan were feeling militant, and J.P. Morgan believed further talk with Spain would accomplish nothing. On March 25th, a telegram arrived at the White House from an advisor to McKinley saying, "Big corporations here now believe we will have war. Believe all would welcome it as a relief to suspense." 2 days after getting this telegram, McKinley presented an ultimatum to Spain, demanding an armistice. So a spokesman for the Cuban rebels, who was based in New York, heard about McKinley presenting an ultimatum to Spain, which at no point acknowledged independence for Cuba, to which he responded to the United States, to President McKinley, by saying, "In the face of the present proposal of intervention without previous recognition of independence, it is necessary for us to go a step further and say that we must and will regard such an intervention as nothing less than a declaration of war by the U.S. against Cuban revolutionists." Indeed, when McKinley asked Congress for war on April 11th, he did not recognize the rebels as belligerents or ask for Cuban independence. 9 days later, Congress, by joint resolution, gave McKinley the power to intervene. When American forces moved into Cuba, the rebels welcomed them, hoping the Teller Amendment would guarantee Cuban independence. Many histories of the Spanish-American War have said that public opinion in the U.S. led McKinley to declare war on Spain and send forces to Cuba. True, certain influential newspapers had been pushing hard, even hysterically, and many Americans, seeing the aim of intervention as Cuban independence and with the Teller Amendment as a guarantee of this intention, supported the idea. But would McKinley have gone to war because of the press and some portion of the public without urging of the business community? American labor unions had sympathy for the Cuban rebels as soon as the insurrection against Spain began in 1895, but they opposed American expansionism. Both the Knights of Labor and the American Federation of Labor spoke against the idea of annexing Hawaii, which McKinley proposed in 1897. Despite the feeling for the Cuban rebels, a resolution calling for U.S. intervention was defeated at the 1897 convention of the AFL. Samuel Gompers of the AFL wrote to a friend, "The sympathy of our movement with Cuba is genuine, earnest, and sincere, but this does not for a moment imply that we are committed to certain adventurers who are apparently suffering from hysteria."